The Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Scott Howell.
Hello, neighbors of Cleveland and Chattanooga. Welcome to another edition of the Good Neighbor Podcast, brought to you by the Friends and Neighbors Group of Tennessee. My name is Scott Howell, and I'm your host. Joining me today is our good neighbor, Geoff Ramsey, at Real Estate Partners in Chattanooga. Welcome, Geoff. Thank you for being our special guest today on the Good Neighbor Podcast.
Well, thank you for having me, Scott. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. It's our pleasure. Thank you. So we met here today to talk a little bit about yourself and your company and find out what you offer our community. But before we jump into that, would you like to share with us a little bit about yourself and your family?
That would take up the entire amount of time we've got, probably. I've been licensed since 1993. I'm a broker in Georgia and Tennessee, and I have been doing this a very long time. And I've come from a very interesting background and a very interesting family that would take a long time to talk about.
Okay, fair enough. So tell us about your business. You gave us a little bit overview there, but go a little bit more in depth with us and tell us about who you are and what you do for the folks out there.
Sure. Well, most of my business has been over 30 years, has been residential new construction. Over the last 15 years, obviously I'm still, bread and butter is residential, helping people buy, helping people sell. But I have been doing a lot more commercial and land development of commercial land and residential subdivisions, things of that nature. So I've not just the typical buying and selling of single family properties, but actually developing apartments and subdivisions and pretty diversified.
Pretty diversified portfolio, I guess. So you said you've been in the business for 30 years. Can you go back in time and tell our listeners about your journey and how you decided to get into this business?
Sure. I was, and I apologize, there's people in the lobby. I don't know if you can hear them or not, but they're a little loud.
Okay.
Back in 1993, when I was 23 years old, I thought it'd be a good idea to get my real estate license. I was a young punk kid driving a Corvette, and this is back when we didn't have computers. We just had the book with the pictures. Fax machines had just come out. That was a new invention. Used to have to drive to get signatures or, put contracts in the mail and wait 2 weeks to get them back. And I sold one house to a high school friend, failed miserably, retired my license. And about a year later, my best friend's dad opened up a real estate franchise in Knoxville, asked me to come work for him. So I got my license out of retirement, hung it with him. I sold one condo to myself, failed miserably, and put my license back in retirement. And then a while later, I decided I'd give it another go, but this time I did it the right way. Probably 1999, maybe. This was before buyer's agents were a thing. I'd never even heard of them, but I knew I'd failed twice on my own. But I wanted to give it another run. And I just drove around because there was no real internet then. Drove around a few, had the most signs in the area I lived in, figured that out, called that person for 2 weeks every day, trying to get past his gatekeeper, and couldn't. And after about 2 weeks, he finally called me, and I won't say what I said to him, but I basically told him that I'd been trying to get a hold of him for 2 weeks, and it took him that long to call me back, and I'd already put my license with another company. About 30 minutes before he called, and he said, "If you ever get tired of that company, give me a holler." I told him I was tired of him now. I'd be at his office in 15 minutes. I was painting my deck. I showed up in shorts, T-shirt, covered in paint with a ball cap, and we talked for 2 hours. Ended up working with him for 5 years and was with that company for about 20 years. So failed on my own, tried again on my own and failed. And then basically sort of invented at the time, 1999, the buyer's agent position, because I told them that if it took you 2 weeks to call me back, how much money are you missing? You could be giving me those leads. I could be following up on them, and we could split the money 50-50. You'd make a whole lot of money that you're throwing in the trash, and I would learn and make money at the same time. So after about 5 years of working with him, I finally realized I was bringing in more on my own than he was giving me. And I went to him and told him that we needed to rethink and renegotiate how we were doing things. And he just laughed at me and said, "You should have come in here to have this conversation 2 years ago. You're already well past ready to do it on your own." So I kept working with this company and still have a great relationship with him today. But what I did learn was trying to do it on my own was no good. I failed twice when I got a mentor, somebody else to learn from, bounce ideas off of, pick up my slack when I was busy, pick up his slack when he was busy. It helped both of us succeed. So the old saying, it takes a village, it does. And these people that think they can just run out on their own and all of a sudden become a top producer without good people and good support around them might learn the hard way like I did twice.
So you're with Real Estate Partners now. Real Estate Partners is a very large group in the Chattanooga area.
I believe we're still the largest independently owned local real estate franchise in the greater Chattanooga area. Before that, I was with RE/MAX for about 20 years.
Okay. How long have you been with Real Estate Partners now?
3.5 years or so, probably.
3.5. Okay. I know they have a wonderful reputation. I tell you that. So I was very happy when I saw that you were going to let us do the interview with you today. Very happy to do that. Thank
you. It was a hard decision to leave a company that I loved and respected with people I loved and respected. That was a really tough decision. But over here at Real Estate Partners, there's a lot of really good folks. Not that there's not at my last place, but there's the decision was based on I was watching people at my new company that were outselling me triple fold, and where I was outselling everybody else. So it's kind of like playing basketball or tennis. If you're playing with somebody better than you, it's going to step your game up. So I just wanted to get into a ring with people that were going to challenge me some.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because the more we can learn, the more we can help, right?
Absolutely. And, we're not just this company, but the entire realtor family. I believe we're starting to learn that, we're not just competitors. We're family members. We're a realtor family. We're supposed to help each other out. If I'm having questions, I've got 110, 115 people in this office I can reach out to and bounce stuff off of. And, I get calls from people that are not even in my office asking, what would you do? And I think it's our job as a realtor family to help each other.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good attitude to have. Can you tell us about, a lot of people have it in their mind that, I can do this myself. I don't need a realtor. Can you help us dispel any myths or misconceptions that people may have about your industry?
Again, that could take about 4 hours to talk about. The highlights. I've got no emotion involved. When you're selling your own property, that's your baby. Somebody comes in and calls your baby ugly, you're going to get offended. You've got emotions involved. It's kind of like the person that represents himself in court as a fool for a client. You don't need to go into court and pretend you're your own attorney. I've done thousands of real estate transactions, and I've had about every punch thrown at me that can be thrown. I'm not comparing myself to Mike Tyson, but I know how to throw a punch and I know how to dodge one when it comes to real estate because I've seen a lot over 30 years. People think they can save a few bucks by going with without going with a realtor. And I don't have the national statistics in front of me, but last time I looked, people that try to sell property without a realtor thinking they're going to save a few percent end up selling their property for about 10% less than what a realtor would have done is the last statistics I saw. So they think they're saving money, but they're working harder and they're leaving money on the table and they're exposing themselves to lawsuits. I have errors and omissions insurance. Something goes wrong, I've got insurance coverage. Also, I've got experience in negotiating. And let's face it, if you're trying to sell a home and you're showing it yourself, who are you letting into your house?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I vet people before I take them out to show properties. And when I show properties, I'm with them. If I don't feel like it's a comfortable fit, I bring somebody else with me. It's just, and I'm not trying to scare anybody. It's just like my personal home. I'm not going to let a stranger into my personal home and let them walk through. If I'm taking a client into a home for sale, I'm walking with them every step of the way because I want to know what they think about the property so I can give good feedback, see if they like it, get them prepared for the next one if that's not the one for them. But I'm also chaperoning to make sure that they're not going through your medicine cabinet looking for pain pills. I mean, let's be honest. We live in a different world today.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I was thinking when you said you're not trying to scare people. It's not about the fear. It's just about the reality of living. Like you said.
It is. I mean, I'm on the executive committee for the Tennessee Realtors. I was president of the Chattanooga Realtors back in 2018. And this year I'm on the National Association of Realtors Safety Advisory Committee. And the Safety Advisory Committee is not just about the safety of realtors, which it is. We need to be concerned about, you don't just jump in the car and go show a house to somebody you've never met.
Right.
But it's also the safety of the consumer's property. It's also got a lot to do with the mental well-being of realtors and consumers. I mean, it's a stressful job, and it's stressful on the clients too. I mean, this is the biggest purchase most people have ever made, or the biggest sale most people have ever made. And they get emotional. So the safety is not just about, protecting my body or protecting another person's body, and protecting their property, their personal property, and their mental well-being. A lot of times I feel like I'm more than a realtor. I feel like I'm a psychologist half the time.
Well, I'm sure your clients appreciate it. So let's talk about just for a minute, step outside of the business and tell us about what Geoff Ramsey does for fun when he's not working, which I know being a realtor, that's not very often, right?
Well, it's, that's true. Once a year, I try to go fishing down in the Keys. Once a year, I try to go out west and do some snow skiing, about 3 or 4 days. Don't have children. I have 2 dogs and 2 horses, and try to spend as much time with them as I can. And I do enjoy playing golf, but every one of those activities involves an earbud in my ear. And when I'm playing golf, I'm answering the phone while I'm hitting the ball because that's my job. I mean, I've got to be available for people. So
Yes.
I was actually joking last night with Elizabeth, my better half, and I recalled one time when I was on my horse texting, and a buddy of mine that was with us asked me what in the heck I was doing, and I told him just hang tight, and I kept texting and sitting on top of the horse. And when I was done, I looked at him and I said, "I just sold your house." It's like, what? And I was like, yeah, I've been texting with another agent and we just came to an agreement on your house. And he was looking at me like I was an idiot for being on top of the horse and texting. And then he was looking at me like, thank you for selling my house. So, yes, I've actually sold a house while riding a horse.
That's a good story. So getting a little bit more personal, can you describe a hardship or life challenge that you have been through in your life and that you rose above and can now say because of that you're better or stronger for it?
Oh, that's a really tough question. It's a good question, but a tough one. Obviously, what I've talked about earlier, I failed twice, and I'm a competitor. I don't like to lose. And so retiring my license 2 separate times, I was a little scared to try again because I didn't want to fail again. And that's why I got a mentor. So from getting knocked down and the pain of getting knocked down, I learned that you got to get back up, but you can't just get back up and do the same thing. You got to do it better. And that's when I learned that I did need a mentor. I'd say another one was, and we all go through this, and I'll try not to get emotional about it, but I lost my mom a few years ago, and I got very complacent, didn't care too much about work or anything else. And a good friend of mine who was a realtor a few months later called me up and asked me how I was doing. I told him I was fine. And he said, "No, you're not." And I said, "Yeah, I am." He said, "No, you're not. I've talked to you. I've seen you. You don't look the same. You're not acting the same. And I'm looking at your numbers and your numbers are off. Something's wrong." And I was like, "Well, just don't have a lot of motivation right now." And this was a couple of years ago. And he took the time out of his day. He came to my office the next day and spent 3 hours with me working on a business plan to help me get out of a rut and back to where I needed to be. And for a competitor to take time out of their day to teach one of their competitors how to become better is pretty much unheard of. So I appreciated that so much that one of my competitors would actually take time out of their day to teach me how to compete better against them. I've tried to pass that on too. I'm always willing to give advice and help others. And his generosity in doing that really lifted me up. So, I mean, heck, it goes back to what we learned in kindergarten and Sunday school, whatever. Golden rule: treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yes. It's nice to know there's still people with compassion and integrity out there.
There are some good folks out there. There are.
If there was one thing, Geoff, that you could shout from the rooftop and you wish all our listeners knew about you and your company, your business individually, what would that be?
About me, and I'm not good at talking about me. I'll just say that doing this at a very high volume for a very long time. Well, I call it practicing real estate. It's like practicing law and practicing medicine changes every day. So there's not many curveballs that I haven't seen and had a chance to take a swing at and learn from. But it's practicing real estate like practicing medicine. It changes every day. So with the amount of time I've been doing this, I've learned a great deal, and I have a lot of experience behind me, and I do have the ability to take the emotion out of it and put the experience into it and give good recommendations instead of emotional recommendations. Sometimes you got to have some emotion in any transaction, but when it comes down to it, this is business, and we've got to treat it that way. And I can take a homeowner or a commercial property owner, somebody who I'm trying to help develop their land. They might be insulted by an offer that's been given or received, and they're on the edge, ready to just throw their hands up and quit. And they've learned how to rationally talk through things and try to keep emotions out of it and keep it business.
Well, Geoff, if somebody wanted to contact you or even just learn more about your company before they contact you, what would you recommend the ways they could go about doing that?
Oh, I don't know. I'm Geoff with a G. There's not many of us. I'm pretty Googleable. It's just geofframsey.com, or I'm not hard to find.
Geoff, you said you're Geoff with a G. That, for anybody that doesn't know, that's Geoff, right?
I like to tell people that if they're a NASCAR fan, it's like Jeffrey Bodine. If they like, if they're avid readers, it's like Geoffrey Chaucer, the old English writer.
There you go.
Unfortunately, Toys R Us closed, so I don't really get to use Geoffrey the Giraffe anymore. But some people do remember Geoffrey the Giraffe. He was spelled with a G as well.
That's cool. I like that. So, Geoff Ramsey, Real Estate Partners in Chattanooga. That's one way. What do you want to share your telephone number, or do you just want to direct them to the website?
My number's out there on. It's everywhere. I've had the same number for 25 years or more. It's 423-227-5564, or my email. I had to keep it simple so I could remember it. It's my name. It's just Jeff@geofframsey.com.
Okay.
And my website is geofframsey.com. The most common error is people forget the GEOFF. But I'm pretty easy to track down.
Okay. Well, it has been my pleasure to talk to you today. I really have enjoyed getting to know a little bit about you and your company. I hope you've enjoyed being on with us.
Well, yes, sir, Scott. I do appreciate you taking the time to have me on, and thank you very much.
It's been our pleasure. And to all you good neighbors of the Cleveland and the Chattanooga area, after meeting Geoff and learning more about his company, we hope you'll take a moment to consider all he has to offer and remember him when you need or want the services that he provides. Before ending this episode, I would like to thank you all for taking the time out of your busy day to visit with us at the Good Neighbor Podcast. Always remember to support the locally owned and operated businesses in Cleveland and the greater Chattanooga area. This is Scott with the Friends and Neighbors Group. Everyone go out and make this a remarkable day.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpcleveland.com. That's gnpcleveland.com, or call 423-380-1984.